The following witness account comes from a woman with a handle name of McKayBSlayin. Now you have to listen to this in its entirety because it is mind-blowing. It all centers around her daughter. When she was about 2 years old, she started recollecting and talking about her past lives and the things that she was saying and what she told her mother. A 2-year-old wouldn't have known. As she has gotten older, she has confirmed that her daughter has grown out of it and no longer remembers what she told her mom or her past lives. But it makes you wonder, is reincarnation real? Are past lives a real thing? Take a look, listen to what she has to say, comment below, tell me what you think.
My daughter just turned 2, and one day I was taking her somewhere and I put her in her car seat and we headed out, and she got very melancholy and sad all of a sudden, and she's looking out the window and she goes, "I miss my parents." And I was like, "Girl, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Right here." And I go, "Oh, because daddy's at work? You miss daddy?" And she got very serious and she goes, "No, I miss my parents." First, I was like, "Excuse me." But second, I was like, that's a really weird thing to say, because a 2-year-old saying parent, we just say mommy and daddy. I've never said, "Oh, I'm your parent," especially since she's only 2. So that was a really weird terminology to choose. So I said, "Hey, you're having really big feelings right now. Do you want to talk about it?" And so what I gathered from that conversation is that she lost her parents, and then she lost her sister, and then she said, "And then I was an orphan." A 2-year-old said those exact words. "And then I was an orphan." I'm like, where did you learn that word? So that was like my first inkling and sign, like maybe she is telling the truth, because I've never taught her that word. So years go by, and each time she would go through really sad days where we would be doing something and maybe it brought back a memory, or she'd have like a glazed look on her face and a recollection would come back, and she would tell me about it. And so what I was able to gather basically is that she lived during a plague time, and her town got knocked out. She lost a lot of neighbors in her family. Her mom died first, and then her dad died, and then it was just her and her little sister for a while, and then her little sister died, and then she was all alone. And that makes sense now, because this kid now, she needs to be around all the time. She is a living room kid. She wants to always be around someone. She wants someone to play with. She likes companionship. She hates being alone. It's her biggest thing. What I was able to gather about the plague situation is, I don't think it was an earlier plague. I think it was a later plague, because one day we were driving by and this house had a bunch of old tractors in the yard for show, and we were driving by, and a very, very old one, and she pointed out and she goes, "My granddaddy used to have that tractor." And I was taken aback, because, girl, no, my dad did not own a tractor, so no, your granddaddy did not. So years go by, fast forward to 3 years old, and one day I'm putting her shoes on her, and she was like, "Mommy, I picked you." And I was like, "What do you mean you picked me?" And she says, they showed me you guys, and I got to choose you. They showed me what my life would be, and I chose you guys. I wanted to be with you guys. And I didn't know who she meant by they or them, and the way she talked about it seemed like a higher spirit of some sort, and so I said, "Oh, you mean," and we never had this conversation before, so I said, "Oh, you mean like God? Like God, you chose me with God?" And she goes, "Oh, sure, yeah, God." I was just trying to draw a parallel, because she kept saying they and them. She also talked about Jesus without ever being taught about Jesus, so that was also another thing. So fast forward to 4 years old, she's going to preschool. We decided to sign her up for this preschool tied to a church, because she was taking interest in religion, and we were the kind of parents who wanted our children to choose what they wanted to be. We did not want to shove anything down their throats, and we want them to be who they wanted to be. So anyways, we signed her up for this. That happened to be a mistake, because one day I pick her up and she's like, "Mommy, I need to talk to you about something I learned today." And I said, "Okay, go for it." And she says, "My teacher today told me that marriage is between a man and a woman. Is that true? Because where I'm from, it doesn't matter." I'm like, "Girl, what do you mean where you're from? Like, where are you from?" And for context, my sister is married to a woman, and so I'm never going to teach my daughter hate of any kind or any of that. So I basically told her, and I hadn't had that conversation with her yet either about my sister, because it's just, I was going to let her come to me. I'm not going to bring anything up that doesn't need to be brought up. Anyways, I say, "Girl, you love whoever you want to love. As long as they're not hurting you and you're not hurting them, I will support you, and you love whoever you want to love." And that's just how it is in our house. So that was probably one of our last big events with her, and she was 4 at that time. So from 2 to 4, she had really talked a lot about a past life, and there was just moments that would trigger it for her. Me and my mom were walking into Walgreens with my daughter, and we went and we picked out some things and we got in line. And this Indian man from India, he just got this big look of recollection and like loving look, and he said, "My old friend." He's like, "Where have you been?" And me and my mom were like looking at each other, and he was like, "My soul recognizes her soul. Can I say hello?" And me and my mom were like taken aback. I was like, sure. And so he said, "How have you been? It looks like your life's been treating you well. I'm so happy for you, and I hope you have a blessed life." And that was it. And she just gave him the biggest smile, and she wrapped her hands around this man's neck and gave him the biggest hug as if she had known him. And my daughter, like, she was a social person, but she wasn't going to hug someone. So then that's when me and my mom were both like, wow, this is like legit. And so that was just like one of the other events that happened that was pretty big. And yeah, but I don't even know if, like I said, I don't even know if that tied into the past life that I told you guys about. But it was just so strange. He just turned to her, then turned back around, and then turned back around really fast, and his eyes just like knew her. It was so strange. And she just knew him, and it was just a moment in history. And then we both went about our lives. Yeah, it was crazy. Oh, and my mom like asked him, by the way, and she's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "We were schoolmates in India." And me and my mom were just like stunned. I forgot to add that part.